Unos, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, cinco, seis. That's how I sync my mics. So you've just bought your first camera, perhaps you even got it for Christmas, and you want to upgrade and get your first big dog lens. But what should you get? Just kidding, I cancelled Epidemic Sound. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the first video of 2021. I probably shouldn't say welcome back because this is the first. Welcome to the first video of 2021. We've got a massive year planned for this channel. We've got some short films coming out, first giveaways. We're going to be moving out of this office / bedroom situation I've got going because I'm getting married, we're about to buy a house, and we're going to renovate it and build a bit of a studio inside that place, which I'm pretty damn pumped about. So if any of that sounds remotely appealing, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, give it a big fat thumbs up because you don't understand just how much that actually helps smaller creators like me, and we're very, very thankful for it. So hit subscribe, let's get into it. If you follow me on Instagram, you'd know that, actually, if you don't follow me on Instagram, @JedDobre, let's hang out. Anyway, if you do follow me, you'd know that I bought a whole bunch of gear, posted a few different stories about it. Lots of it was upgrades, some of it was just new additions that for me, it was a very expensive bit of fun. However, a very necessary purchase for where I want to take things in both my business, my personal hobbies, but also this channel as well. This got me thinking, if you're new to this and you want to get your first big dog lens, what should you get? Well, hopefully this sheds a little bit of light for you. Let me start by saying I'm a big believer that your first lens should be a zoom lens. It's going to be infinitely more versatile and you're going to get shots that you wouldn't be able to get with a prime. While a prime might be better to learn composition and get shallower depth of field, a zoom lens is ultimately going to be way more versatile and get you the shots you want while you're starting out. In this video, I'll be mainly talking in regards to full frame sensors in the millimeter or focal lengths that I'm talking about. I will try to sprinkle a bit of Micro Four Thirds and APS-C knowledge in there for you too. So if you fall into one of these categories, don't click off just yet. Now let me preface this by saying that some of the suggestions I'm going to have are going to be quite expensive. However, with cameras, if you're new to the game and don't fully understand it, lenses are where the money's at. They can borderline be a good investment if you buy the right lenses and get good quality gear. When you buy a camera, this is naturally, it's the computer of the operation. It's the brains, the electronics, and this will naturally get superseded as time goes on. And that's why cameras have a shelf life of 2 to 4 years, depending on what brand. With lenses, there's not so much technology inside. I mean, of course there is, but not on the same sort of level as what's inside the body. If you have good quality optics, good quality glass is good quality glass as long as you take care of it. Occasionally lenses will get refreshed. They'll do a version 2 or a version 3 of this lens, and that might be a lens with stabilization, but the gap between refreshing lenses and refreshing bodies is much, much larger. You might be looking at 8 to 10 years between a refresh of a lens, whereas a camera, like I said, 2 to 4 years and you'll see a new body come out. It's important to note that it's better to have a more expensive lens on a cheaper body than a cheaper lens on a more expensive body. It's because the lens ultimately gives you the look that you're going for. If you want a vintage style shot and you've got a brand new camera, you go and buy an adapter and put a vintage lens on there and that will give you that look. You don't go out and get a vintage camera and put a brand new 2021 lens on there. It's not going to work anyway. First off, if you're a Canon or Nikon APS-C shooter, you can almost probably stop watching the video here because the one lens you should buy, it's a no-brainer, it's an absolute no contest, the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. I'm sure you've heard every YouTuber in the world tell you that, and that's because it is a damn good lens. If this lens was available for Sony full frame, I'd have it, and it would live on my camera 90% of the time. To have that wider zoom range at f1.8, game over, I'm done. So this is an absolute awesome lens. It'll run you about $1,000 full price in Australia. You can get this on sale every couple of months for about $850, give or take. Now, if you're a Micro Four Thirds user and your budget isn't very small, it's a little bit bigger, you do have the option for the Panasonic 10-25. Amazing lens. It's big for a Micro Four Thirds lens, but it's letting in a ton of light and it's going to do a very similar job to what that Sigma 18-35 is going to do for them. Full framers, you might have heard of the holy trinity of zoom lenses. You've got the 16-35, you've got the 24-70, and you've got yourself the 70-200 f2.8. Now the first thing you need to do when you're thinking about buying your first big dog lens is ask yourself this question: what do you like to shoot? Or what do you want to shoot? If you're someone who likes to shoot a bit of everything, you like to go to birthday parties, you like to shoot some landscape, some street photography, maybe a little bit of scenery, a little bit of compression, a little background blur, 24-70 is going to be my suggestion. Now the reason for this, you've got everything. You've got a mid-wide, you've got a mid-telephoto. Yes, it's not going to do your wildlife or your sport photography like a 1:400 or a 2:600, but it's going to get you enough punch in that you can absolutely take a photo of someone from the sidelines of a footy field or a basketball match or something like that. And 24 at a mid-wide, you can get a reasonable amount of scenery in, be it down at the beach or some mountains or, you know, down through the town. 24 is absolutely enough to do cityscapes. Now this is a perfect jack of all trades style lens to suit most people for most things that they want to do. Now if you're a Sony APS-C shooter, something like the 16-55 would be my go-to. But let's not forget that some people have some more specific needs. So if you're like, well, hang on, I want to take landscapes, architecture, bit of astro, you know, that sort of stuff. Well, for me, the suggestion has to be something along the lines of a 16-35. 16 is wide enough to get most of the shots you want, most landscapes, most interior shots. Just make sure you keep your horizons nice and straight, because if you don't, things are going to start to get pretty weird. The lines are going to distort, bow, and make things look longer. Your arms can look really distorted if you've got your arms toward the camera. But if you don't know what I mean by that, go and check out this video up here. I've made a video showing the effects of different focal lengths and how they work. Now you also get a few nice different portrait prime lengths within that zoom range. You get your 20, your 24, your 28, and your 35. 35mm is such an amazing length to be capturing candid moments at birthday parties or family functions. Also, 24 is a pretty neat one as well. I'm actually shooting on a 24mm right now, so to have those in the same lens, happy days. Now don't forget there is always the Sigma and Tamron equivalents. Sigma make a really nice 14-24 2.8. A little bit wider, you just don't get as much zoom, but it's pretty nice and affordable for what it is. These wide angle lenses on a micro four thirds would fall in line with a 7-14 or a 9-18 sort of range. And on APS-C, you're looking at about a 10-18mm lens. Now the telephoto shooters. Alright, this is probably the only type of lens I wouldn't recommend being your first lens, unless all you get a kick out of shooting is planes, sport, wildlife, stuff like that. These lenses are the least versatile lenses, however, they are also the only lenses which will do the job in which they do. So this to me is normally a bit of a complementary piece. You go, you know what, I've got my main lens, be it my 24-70 or what have you, and now I want to shoot a bit of sport or a bit of wildlife. I'm going to go buy my telly. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about this. The standard 1-400, a 2-600, a 70-200 2.8 with a 2x converter, that's what you boys got. And you know what? It really is dependent on what you want to shoot. If you want to shoot things that are so far away, you go to the 2-600, but if you want to shoot portraits and you also want to shoot a bit of surfing or something like that, I'm pretty happy with my 70-200 with a 2x converter. 70-200 is a pretty versatile lens to be taking portraits as well as some long range landscapes and also a little bit of wildlife. It's not one I'm going to say, hey, go buy this lens to take some photos of wildlife. It's just not being realistic. Now across all these lenses, if you are nervous about making the jump into the f2.8 range as opposed to its f4 counterpart, if the money is there, if the budget is there, do it. You will not regret it. If you take your photos seriously and you want the best quality images, more light is always better. Letting more light in will allow you to keep your ISO lower, thus giving you a cleaner image, especially if you're on a lower budget camera. These traditionally don't perform as well in low light conditions and you need every bit of help that you can get. And yes, I'm aware that these lenses are much more expensive than the f4 or the variable aperture versions. And I will say the image quality that you'll get because of the quality of glass will be much better, more light coming in, but also you're going to have this lens for a lot longer. These lenses tend to be much better built, so the durability is way higher, but just the quality in general all around, happy days. And a lot of the time, they're probably going to be a weather sealed lens too. If you're shooting on an APS-C camera, something like a 90D or a A6400 in the Sony range, and you can actually have the benefit of putting a full frame lens on that camera, consider buying the full frame equivalent. The reason I say this, if you have pipe dreams of in the next 6 months to a year you want to upgrade to a full frame camera, buying that lens now that will clip straight onto that full frame camera means when you do buy that camera, you've got yourself a lens, because you cannot use an APS-C lens on a full frame camera and utilize the whole sensor, but you can do it the other way around. You can absolutely put a full frame lens on an APS-C camera of the same brand. You just need to be aware you will get what's called a crop factor. Just know that when you're using a full frame lens on an APS-C body, you'll get what's called a 1.5 times crop factor. Unless you're using Canon, you'll get a 1.6 times crop factor. And what this means is if you had a 10mm full frame lens on an APS-C camera, that would actually be a 15mm photo, or on a Canon a 16mm photo. Basically, it's just how the sensor interprets the lens, how much coverage it gets, how much magnification. Don't worry about it, but that's what it does. Before we wrap up, I did mention before, if you're thinking about going for the f2.8 over the f4, just to send it, go the whole hog. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if the budget's not quite there, but you really want that 2.8, have a look at Tamron or Sigma or Samyang or something like that. A lot of the time, let's go Sony for instance, the f4 version in the Sony is about the same price of the 2.8 Tamron. And the 2.8 Tamron is about half the price of the Sony 2.8. So you're getting amazing lenses at a fraction of the price. The only downside of going for a third party like Tamron or Sigma is they don't hold their value as well as be it the Sony G Master or the Canon L series, etc. But optically, absolutely amazing images, and never buy something thinking of the resale value. Buy it to use it because these are tools, not jewels. I hope this answers any question you might have had in regards to what lens should you buy for your first crack at it. And if it didn't, sorry. Anyway, there's going to be lots of reviews sprinkled throughout 2021. I'm pretty excited. And if you like tech as much as I did, you'll be excited because I just bought an M1 Mac Mini and I'm so excited for that. So no doubt there'll be a bit of content coming up on that as well. I'll leave you now with some images from probably the best lens I'll never own, or maybe I might. It's the Sony 135mm G Master f1.8. Peter from Sony Adelaide was kind enough again to lend this to me for a while, and I'm in love with the lens. I might need to do a review on that, so if you want it, let me know down in the comments below. Alrighty, we're done here. Thank you. My name's Jet Debray. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of fun stuff. Join me on Instagram. If you're so inclined, feel free to share with your friends. Get them in the community. I can't wait. It's been fun talking. I'm going to go for a run. Or, yeah, I should. Alright, bye!
Stride.
Wicked, jungle is massive. I also just got my brand new Mac M1 Mini. Mac 1 Mini. No, yeah, it's a mouthful. Bless me. Be it landscape or something like that. Shit, I always say something like that. I thought I wasn't recording. Whew, that would have been a stitch up. Whatever fills your boat, whatever floats your boat. I need to make a new intro because I cancelled my Epidemic subscription and I now use audio. All right.